Heyo, my Planet Coaster friends, Johnny5 Alive here, and welcome back to another episode of Park Spotlight. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at Fortnite the Park, created by Truth T. And before you guys go, oh, Fortnite, you gotta bear with me here today. I think this is gonna be a fun one overall, and there's lots to talk about, and it is a Planet Coaster park after all, so there's tons of coasters to enjoy and all that stuff. So stay tuned, and let's check it out. All right, this was sent in by Truth T, and here he says, "Hey again, Jay, sorry that I didn't know about this form or I wouldn't have sent the email." So anyways, this is my very first park, and I believe it was an innovative in the eye of recreation. Sure, it's based off of Fortnite and might be a recreation of its map, but due to certain limitations I've been able to add so much more, and I think will be genuinely enjoyable. That's kind of what I said in the beginning as well, to not judge it before you see it. Judge it based off a book by its cover. No ride in the park is the same, and there are very unique layouts and aesthetics that offer different expansions relative to what the game is. All areas are themed to their respectable landings. Don't forget to thank the driver on your way out. Alright guys, so before we get into this, so I have a lot of cinematic shots to show off in the background while I talk. I do want to take a second to talk a little bit about Fortnite, because I do have a little bit of a history and a background with it. So when Fortnite first came out, it was a PvE only game called Save the World. I covered this content on my channel in the very beginning, and I actually had it do very successfully. I had some videos that went up to 100,000 views, which is huge for a small channel like myself. Now, where it lied in this kind of AA game, not quite AAA, you know, not indie, but kind of right there as a AA game, like a good game. And for a small channel like my own to succeed, I kind of need a good AA game, kind of like Planet Coaster or Fortnite Save the World, in order to succeed, because I'm not getting washed out by those massive YouTubers that have millions of subscribers that are covering the content that people would prefer to watch them over me. Now, as a niche game as it was, I was covering it, I was getting good views, everything was going well, I fit that niche. However, I did run out of content ideas because the game, in terms of PvE Save the World, is limited in how many ideas you can come up with. It's not like Planet Coaster where you could just do spotlight after spotlight. I did as many base builds as I can, missions, this, that, so I covered as much content and I ran dry. And about that time, the Battle Royale came out, and that changed the face of the game forever. Now, it went viral, it went AAA, it's like the biggest Battle Royale, biggest multiplayer game in existence. It's huge. So what naturally happens is it puts it up into the AAA bracket. AA is no longer a thing. The game is no longer considered PvE, and when people think of Fortnite, they think of Battle Royale. When I think of Fortnite, I think of Save the World. I think about building forts with my friends and surviving. It's that base building aspect, that fun, all the creativity involved. That's what I think of when I think of Fortnite. And then I started doing videos after the fact, and people were calling me a sellout, a shill. I was getting all sorts of dislikes on my videos, which was really weird for someone who already had over 30 or 40 Fortnite videos on the channel. So I was going, what's going on here? So yes, in fact, the Battle Royale had changed the face of Fortnite forever, to a point where it banished me from being able to make content on it without people perceiving it as a toxic multiplayer game, which is pretty darn unfortunate. So for me, Fortnite still has a soft spot in my heart in terms of Save the World. I have never sat down to play the multiplayer other than the day one beta when it first was announced. I gave it a try and said, oh yeah, this is cool if you're into that Battle Royale thing, and I left it at that. But again, Fortnite has a soft spot in my heart. I love the building, I love the Save the World, I love the gunplay, the characters, and the world. The world is especially fun to enjoy. I love the art style. I think Unreal has done some amazing stuff with this game. So that's why I picked this one out here today. I figured I wanted to give a little backstory on Fortnite, and I have never had the opportunity to tell that story. I know there's a bunch of subscribers, thousands of them, that came from my Fortnite videos, and you guys I've seen comments, well, what happened to the Fortnite content? Well, that's what happened. I'm called a shill if I make any more, and honestly, it's just not, it ruined it for me. Battle Royale ruined Fortnite for me, but plenty of you guys out there enjoy Fortnite Battle Royale, and that's perfectly fine. So there we go. Now we're looking at Fortnite the Park here today, so let's get into it. So here's the map, everybody. Fortnite the Park is pretty cool. I don't think it's it's exact. It's definitely not, because, you know, Fortnite doesn't have all these coasters and stuff, but he has laid out a map. So for those of you who know Fortnite, we can kind of look at the map. He says this here is the Lonely Lodge. We have the Risky Reels up here. Up here's the Anarchy Acres, the Wailing Woods, the Dusty Divot, Retail Row, and then we have Moisty Mire, Lucky Landing, the Fatal Fields, Salty Springs, and Flush Factory, Shifty Sands, the Greasy Grove, Tilted Towers, the Snobby Shores, Pleasant Park, I guess that's this, which is not really anything, Tomato Town, definitely looks like tomatoes. Then back here we have Junk Junction and Haunted Hills. So it has all the core landing areas, although for me, I'm looking at this and I feel like it's lacking a little bit of luster and a little bit of detail in terms of those aesthetics. You have hit a bit of it, like you got this Durr Burger, and I love the Durr Burger. Ever since I saw that in Fortnite, I wanted to recreate it in Planet Coaster. So there it is. That's the Durr Burger. And as I was saying, the suburban areas, the industrial areas, and even the city areas in Fortnite are very captivating, and a lot of it can be recreated in Planet Coaster. One of the things I've always wanted to do is recreate the suburban towns from Planet Coaster, because some of the assets, such as the Durr Burger, the pizza, they can all fit very well in a theme park. There's so many different like themed shops in Fortnite. They would work amazingly in Planet Coaster, and they kind of have this like Durr Burgery theme about them, the zombie theme about them, and they're really fun to recreate, and I think it would be a ton of fun. The problem is I'm kind of now irritated with the fact that if I were to create something from Fortnite and Planet Coaster, most people would disapprove. I think back in the day, a long time ago, had I have done it, people would have been like, this stuff is really, really cool. These are amazing looking buildings, houses, restaurants, and they would have fit really well for a theme park game. I still think so to this day. If you were to create them and put them down and not tell someone they're Fortnite, people would be like, this works amazing in my theme park. Unfortunately, there's just a bad stigma around Fortnite now. I mean, for certain people. I don't want to like put a bad negativity out there or anything like that, because I still think the game is great. Save the world. I still think the Battle Royale is great. There's a reason people play it. It's just not for me. So I think it's a mixed bag. Some people just absolutely hate it, and others love it. So here's another one. This is the Tomato Guy. So this one's saying these characters, I think these could have been done a little bit more accurately with a little bit more fine detail and polish. This person here is a... they're non-ranked. So they're essentially a new builder. Let me go look at their workshop. Yeah, has pretty much nothing on his workshop. So this is his first ever build, and I can tell the aesthetics of these buildings are very new builderish. There's a lack of trim. There's a lack of detail and polish, but I think it gets the job done, and it kind of tells a little bit of the Fortnite story in its bare bones sense. And I think this stuff could be pushed a lot further and be made really cool. But nonetheless, it is Fortnite and it is the map. It just lacks a little bit of polish. I still think there's a lot of Planet Coaster creativity gone in here and some pretty fun things to look at. So just like at a quick glance, I could tell a lot of these coasters aren't, you know, immaculate. They might have some crazy ratings on them based off this creator's history. There's not a lot of coasters on his workshop. I can tell some of these require a little bit more smoothing. Maybe not a lot of planning has gone into these coasters, but they're still interesting. And, you know, look at this one. It's basically just a loop. So some of these coasters are like, I don't know about this. The coaster enthusiasts might get a little bit angry at some of these, but, you know, they're still going to be fun to ride. Like we have this big, giant Giga coaster here. Still probably be pretty exhilarating to watch in first person. So not a kind of a park that we could really go around in first person here today. There's a lot of... Whoa! I have to kick these people out. It's still running pretty good. I mean, decently. It's not a park that we can really immerse ourselves in today, but there are some good details here. Point of arrival, the battle bus has crashed. See, that's what I'm saying. There's some quirky characteristics about this that are really true to Fortnite, but then also I think this is kind of like a decent thing in Planet Coaster. It's a cool little bus made out of basic shapes, and I think that takes a little bit of skill to do. Now, the one problem I have is this pathing is a little bit horrendous and boring. You know, there's not a whole lot going on here. Battle passes, get your battle passes instead of, you know, there's some theme parky things here. I just think it's lacking a little bit of polish because Fortnite has beautiful terrain, beautiful vistas, layouts, and a lot of it can be accomplished in Planet Coaster. Some real great buildings, and we're seeing these like kind of boxy builds. This wouldn't exist in Fortnite or Planet Coaster. So I feel like some of it is falling short in terms of decor and immersion. So it's not quite a perfect recreation of the Fortnite park, and it's not quite a good park for Planet Coaster. It's kind of falls in between. But there are coasters to ride, and there is a park to explore. But again, on a ground level, what are we, like, you know, most of the parks that I go to, I'm gawking, oh, look at the details over here. This is literally 4 flat rides plopped down over here with nothing to look at. You know, and it is a little bit strange. But then, you know, other areas, like we saw with the Durburger stuff, and this building here, I mean, there's some effort gone into it. So it's a little bit strange. But it also seems like a pretty good, you know, recreation in the terms of landing points. Like this area here is the Dusty Divot. So I think it has the crane buckets. It has a little bit of theming, you know, so it's not terrible. I think, you know, and then there's crazy pathing again. It's just, I kind of want to just skim over it today while these guests are getting kicked out, and try to find the things that are worth pointing out. And I've definitely hit a few of them so far. But you can see it's just very barren and very spread out. The tomato hills, there's some tomatoes everywhere. But I think there's a little bit of theming here. We got the tomato guy. This building's not bad for a new builder. The sign and stuff. It's pretty thrown together, but it also kind of, it's not bad. It's on its way to being decent. And we have the little Pleasant Park over here. Feels like a pleasant park, but again, just unthemed. Crazy paths again. So you could tell that this is kind of like a new builder who's played Planet Coaster for the first time. I'm building a coaster over here. It looks like he put some effort into this coaster, but then it's like, how do I get the guests there? And you just run all these paths everywhere. It's very sandboxy, first time, but then there's some aspects to it where I'm like, hey, that's not bad. If you had a garden here, you know, gardens on the outside, some proper pathing, and some fountains and stuff, this could actually come together looking pretty good with a little bit more improved sign. You know, not bad. So I just feel like it's a little bit phoned in, but the layout is there, and it's just lacking those details. This could have been a really cool looking gas station. If you recreate the gas stations from Fortnite, they look impeccable, and again, they feel very theme parky. So I think this Fortnite idea in Planet Coaster is something worth observing and playing with further. I would love to see somebody really tackle Fortnite, maybe not the actual PvP map, but maybe something from the actual game. You know, recreate the actual Durburger in full detail, you know, and build some of this stuff and make a kind of Fortnite Planet Coaster theme park using all the Fortnite assets. I think it would look wonderful. And you could theme some really cool Fortnite-y coaster. Like, this is called the Fortnite coaster, and you go with all the branding, the theming, the mascots in the game. You can make some really badass stuff. The Dur coaster, and there's zombies everywhere. It's super fun, and that's the reason why I'm kind of covering it today. I like the concept, and I want people to at least try to appreciate that, what it's capable of and what you can do with it. And if you like Fortnite and you like Planet Coaster, maybe you can be the one person to bring this all together. And I think, you know, I don't want to take away from anything that Truth T has done here, because I think he's actually done a pretty good job with the map layout and the landing zones. It's just not feeling like that Fortnite park when you're on first person and you're running through and you're seeing, you know, the different landmarks. They're not quite there. So I still think it could be pushed further and done a little bit better. And yeah, so I love the idea. I really do. So I still think it's worth checking out here today, and that's what we're doing. And we have 1,500 guests left. I think that's good. We can probably open the park back up and put a limit. Whoa. You definitely tell he's new to the game based off of not knowing that you should not have 9,000 guests in your park. But that's quite all right. Okay, so I've done a lot of ranting, I've done a lot of rambling, and you guys kind of know my opinion on Fortnite, where I stand with it, what kind of potential it has in Planet Coaster as a hybrid, universes merged, collided, but there's still some coasters here to ride today. So I also just realized I don't have any audio. There we go. So we have some coasters. Let's do a clockwise rotation. We're gonna rapid fire through these coasters today. I'm not gonna give much feedback on these. There's not a whole lot going on, and there's also a lot of them to ride. So we're just gonna boom rapid fire one coaster after another, because I've already ranted for 20 minutes. So how about 20 minutes of non-stop coasters? Some of them are broken down. We're gonna need mechanics in the park, so let's do that. Okay. So first up on the list is the wooden monster, Shifty Shafts. Here's a look at all the results, everybody. Let's give this a ride. Next up is the Tilted Towers. There's a look at all the results. Now let's go. Here we have the Greasy Grove. There's a look at the stats. Next up is Snobby Shores. There's like the stats. And Haunted Hills. There's a look at the stats, everyone. All right, this little snallygaster is Llamas Park Roundabout. We're going to skip on this one today. I'm also going to name it Frontier, so none of my future coasters break down on me. We're going to skip on over to this guy. Actually looks like two coasters. So we have the Junk Junction Red and the Junk Junction Blue. One looks like a corkscrew, one looks inverted. Either that or a Steel Hydra. It's inverted. Okay, we're going to start off with the inverted coaster, the blue one. There's a look at the stats. All right, that was actually a flying coaster. And what is this one, to be specific? It's an X Dimension. Wow. That's surprising. Okay. That's not an X Dimension. Excuse me, I gotta pause it for a second. It's an X Dimension track, but it's swapped out for the, what is this one called? The Deegan? The Deegan. There we go. All right. These are some of the wackiest coasters I've seen in Planet Coaster Park Spotlight history. That is quite all right, though. You can tell that the creator is just trying to have fun with it, you know, and I did notice that T-Truth, you're not a Discord member, so come join us on Discord. Information is down in the description below. All you got to do is click the join server button, and you can get in there, and we'll register you and all that stuff. So you can smooth all. You can also smooth the banking. I noticed a lot of your coasters so far are lacking the smoothing, and they're doing some drastic turns and stuff. I said I wasn't going to give any feedback because there's I just feel like a lot of these coasters, there's a lot of things that I would improve about them. You can even tell by the results that like the G-forces were just so crazy. I would never do something like this where you drop them upside down like that. But if it was an X Dimension coaster, I would, because you could rotate the seats to be parallel with the you would be dropping like this and forward and up. And then, you know, you could twist it around upside down and rotate it. So the X Dimension coaster, if you didn't swap with the train, I think some of that design would have been okay. But there are some, you know, drastic smoothing that needs to be done on a lot of these. So that's going to be my feedback, and it's going to apply to all of these coasters overall. And that's about all I'm going to give here. But in terms of your theming, your builds and stuff, I want to see more of this stuff from you. So do come join us on Discord, and there's going to be plenty of people that'll help you work on your actual builds in terms of building shapes and complexity. So next up, we have Tomato Town. There's a look at the stats. Let's give it a go. Next up, we have Anarchy Acres, the Giga Rage. There's a look at the stats. Let's give it a go. The theming on this coaster is trash, and I mean that quite literally. I could not help but notice all the trash while I was on that coaster. And a tree growing out of the path. Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. Okay, next up is the Wailing Woods. There's a look at the stats, and let's give it a go. Here we have the Dusty Divot. There's a look at the stats. Let's hop on it. I think we're going to skip the retail row here today. Little tiny guy. And we have two more. We have the single rail basilisk. Let's check this guy out. And last but not least, we have the Lucky Landing. And there you have it. That's all the coasters, everybody. Now, I want to give my overall thoughts on this park before we wrap things up, because I do see some potential. There's two ways to approach this if you really want to go balls to the wall, per se. I think an actual full recreation of the Fortnite map would be amazing. I think there's a lot of cool areas in the Fortnite map. I think they might have multiple maps by now. I'm not really sure. But it is a visually beautiful game, and it has some really attractive areas. But, you know, they don't have coasters on their maps. So there's two ways to approach this, is to just do the full map, one-to-one, all the aesthetics. That would be super cool. I mean, heck, if someone were to actually do that, I would probably even have to bring up footage from the game and log in myself and go, this is what it looks like in game. This is what it looks like in Planet Coaster, so we can really see that comparison and that detail one-to-one. That would actually take quite a long time to get that done, but it would be spectacular. Now, there wouldn't be any rides or attractions to check out and go on. Now, your approach here is you kind of did a coaster for each of the landing landing zones. There's the lucky landing, then you have like the fatal fields and the dusty divots, etc., etc. So I kind of like the idea of like, hey, instead of doing the actual area, I've done a coaster in that area. I think what you've done here could be pushed to the next level. It's going to take a little bit more skill, a little bit more practice with Planet Coaster, as well as coaster design and all that stuff. But what I would have liked to see from the Dusty Divot is like at least, 30% of what you see in the Dusty Divot in Fortnite. Actually recreate that area. I mean, this is probably a little bit accurate, but I would like to see like the main area, the focal point of the Dusty Divots created with precision, and then like kind of skip out on, clear some space out for a coaster and have some of that theming spread out and kind of hit elements of the Dusty Divot throughout the whole ride experience. And then you would do that for all the other areas as well. So you wouldn't have to recreate the full area because there's going to be a coaster in its place, but then you're taking all the main assets and all the main attractions and all the popular hotspots that people play in. If there's a certain sniper tower or a loot drop area that people are usually attracted to, you make sure to build that, and then the coaster kind of goes around it as if it's an experience, a character going around collecting the loot and doing the different things, and you try to hit certain elements of the area onto the coaster. And I do think you did that a little bit, like, the tomato, you've gotten the green and the red on the coaster, you've got a few tomatoes in there. I just would have liked to see that theming pushed a little bit further. So I actually kind of think this idea, this concept of taking a game park and creating it in Planet Coaster, but then using the coasters instead of the actual areas to express the theming, to express the characteristics, is quite a clever idea. So that's why I wanted to feature this one here today. I mean, I didn't get a good look at it until I opened it up and started recording. So a lot of this stuff is first impressions for me, and you never know what you're going to get. But I still think it was fun overall. I do think the coasters need a lot of work in terms of your building skills. You're definitely a new builder, but I still see elements of things that you got going here. There's some pretty good stuff here. Some boxy builds, but that stuff can all be improved. So definitely come join us on Discord and work on, some of the building contests that we have, as well as the blueprint challenges and all that stuff, as well as everyone else who plays Planet Coaster. There's so many things that we're doing constantly to help gamers improve their skills in Planet Coaster in our community. So everybody's here to help and improve, and it all starts with a concept. It all starts with an idea and the desire to be creative. And we're seeing that desire here, and we're seeing where your passion and creativity comes from. And a lot of people's creativity and inspiration is drawn from video games, movies, and things of the like. And that's why I think it's important to not exclude Fortnite in the discussion here, because it still is a wonderful game with beautiful art assets. So it's a pretty strong product overall, and I'd love to see more of that from people in the future. So be sure to throw something my way if you got something. My inbox is always open to the public. You can find it down in the description below. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this episode of Park Spotlight. If you enjoyed, please be sure to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more daily Planet Coaster videos. And if you guys enjoy what I do here on the channel, please do consider becoming a patron. Your support allows me to continue making these wonderful spotlights for you wonderful people. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now.